Good morning, class. Oh, man, that's lame.
Hola, senor.
No, it's too late. Too late. This is Drama 140, Stagecraft. For one of you, maybe Drama 141, Stagecraft 2. But I don't think she's here yet. Who in here has been in a class with me before? Suckers. No, I'm kidding. So they know what to expect, somewhat, although not really. This is Stagecraft. So the theory of this class is you learn about the craft of putting a play together from the technical side of things, as opposed to acting, which is the acting side of things, right? Or directing, which is combining everything together. So in here, we're going to learn about the process of creating props and flats and platforms and fake walls and all that stuff, which is what a flat is, in case you didn't catch that. Does that make sense? So in other words, we're going to at least talk about the scenery. We may do scenery, it just depends on how things play out this semester. So as you know, who in here was in the classes last spring? In a class, any class, it doesn't have to be mine. Okay, good. So if you were here last spring, you know that in the middle of the semester we had to jump online real quick because of the whole COVID pandemic thing. There is a possibility that if things don't change, we may end up online again. So if that happens, I've already geared this towards doing that. As you saw, this is now a hybrid class, not a face-to-face class. Normally we'd meet Tuesday, Thursday during this time. Now we meet one day virtually, one day here. So Tuesday we're here, this is today. So every Tuesday we'll be here unless something changes. Thursday, does anybody have a class during this time on Thursday?
No.
Thursday, in theory, we're supposed to be online during this time through Blackboard Collaborate, and I'll set that up, and all that I'll be doing is going through some technical stuff with you. So you can do that from home, you can do that from anywhere. If you're in a class at this time, don't worry about it. It's going to be recorded. You can watch it whenever.
I did have one quick question because on Mondays I have a public speaking class.
Uh-huh.
When I applied for that class, I was not told that I was going to have a second day of the week where we would have that class, which is Wednesday, which I have you for acting for the camera on Wednesday, around the same time that I'm supposed to be doing collaborate. And I've already talked to my professor about it, and we're supposed to work that out. But in the event that I kind of can't work in the two, what should I probably do?
Go to my class.
To be honest with you, I'm already on your page with that one because I'm not really caring too much about this public speaking
The
class.
dean already addressed this morning through an email, so you're okay, you're covered. All you have to do is they have to record that session,
Okay.
and then you just watch it later.
Okay.
Same thing that we would do. Same thing with acting for the camera. Who's in acting for the camera this time?
Just me.
You guys, well, you're excused because you're ahead. You others need to jump on board and get into the good classes. What's that? I said you guys were excused. Yeah. No. But the rest of you need to get on and get to the good classes. Who likes acting? What's wrong? Why didn't you take acting for the camera? It's a great, you can still sign up for it.
I'm kind of like,
What do you mean you tried? You didn't try hard enough.
They told me that there was no more room, so I don't know.
Who told you that? They're wrong.
I'm kind of like
But
on the fence
yeah,
with that.
I said it was okay. I'll just do it next semester.
Okay, well, that's fine. Because it'll be next semester, too. So you got it next semester. Take acting for the camera. It's good for you. You can take acting for the camera, too, next semester.
Okay, because I'm kind of on the fence with the whole acting thing. I mainly want to be the one who's like in control of like the camera. I want to produce basically.
Yeah, but you still need to know it from the actor's side of it.
I know, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm taking these classes. Actually, Miss Herring was the first person I talked to about all that. But I really want to get into like media and production and film work, photography, cinematography, all of that.
So for acting for the camera, and we'll talk about this on Wednesday, you'll get some of that regardless, because since it's just an acting class, there's no videography class right now. We have to do our own videography and stuff, so we have to act as the other parts. So it's acting for the camera, so the actors are acting as directors, so it works out, they're still acting. But anyway, so this class will meet virtually on Thursdays. If you can't be there, it'll be recorded. Watch it later, okay? With the whole COVID thing going on, as I said, we may have to jump online completely. Hopefully that won't happen. Unfortunately, just recently a school, I can't remember where it was, somewhere high school, had 500 students sent home for possible exposure. That's one school. UNC Chapel Hill had 100 students test positive, or 200 students test, I don't know how many it was. So they, as of yesterday, starting tomorrow, will be virtual the rest of the semester. They won't have face-to-face sessions anymore. They were planning on doing face-to-face, but FSU is almost virtual. Everything's virtual. So I have a feeling that that may be something that we move towards. If things keep going the way they are, we will. If things start getting a little bit better number-wise, then maybe we'll at least be like we're doing now, okay? So just be prepared for that for all your classes. That may be something that happens. Hopefully it won't. Also, that means that when you come in, you have to get an armband. Did everybody get an armband? Anybody not got an armband? Show me your armbands. I don't see your armband. What'd you do to it?
I was able to get it on the lot while I was walking.
Well, you better go get another one.
Where do I?
You just stand in front of one of those.
It's down at the end of the hallway, on that front hallway. Go get another one real quick, hurry. It'll be okay, you'll love it. Don't let it fall off this time. Put it on there tighter. That's what I do. You have to wear one of these. This is so that you can get in and out of the buildings without having to stand in line and get your temperature checked again every time you go from one class to another, or from one building to another. So that'll help out a lot. Although I haven't seen, have the lines been that long?
No.
I don't think it's been that bad so far.
I think a lot of people actually aren't coming to campus by choice. I think they're coming on the first day and they're just not showing up.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, well, this is the first day for some classes,
Well, I know.
but I think a lot of people chose to do online instead of face-to-face.
Yeah, well, I mean, I specifically requested face-to-face because I sit behind a computer and then my brain shuts down. I'm distracted by everything around me. It's like 1 minute I'm doing the homework, next minute, ooh, a squirrel. So, you know.
Yeah. And there was no squirrel there. That's the weird part about it. She got it. She was the only one that got it. It's okay, though. So with the whole COVID thing, you have to get this during the day so that you can go back and forth and not have to worry about it. You have to wear the mask, as much as we may hate it, because it's hard to breathe in these things. You have to wear this the whole time you're in class or in the hallway. If you're outside, like walking from building to building, and there's nobody around you, you can take it off during that time, supposedly. But when you're in the hallways or inside the buildings in a classroom, wear this. Did you get it? Yay, now we're all official. Did you tell them how bad they were, that they fell off? No,
I've been here since 7:30.
it's not like they're going to get other ones just because yours fell off.
Your belt is
They
on.
might, though.
Your phone was on in your pocket. Was.
Anyway. And of course, you have to follow the 6-foot rule. So those are the things that we have to do until something changes and they say otherwise.
Yeah, if you're not 6 foot, get out.
Now, if you're having trouble breathing and you can do that a couple of times every once in a while just to get some air. I don't know how good the air is. It depends on which building you're in, I think. That's a joke. You can laugh at my jokes. It's okay. All right, so this is Stagecraft. So we are going to be doing all kinds of cool things. I was going to go over syllabus, but I forgot my iPad because I was too excited about putting this computer thing together. So anyway, that's okay. I still know what to cover on the, are you ready? This is Drama 140, Stagecraft I. We meet from 9:30 to 11:45 on Tuesdays, face-to-face, virtually on Thursdays. My office, I'm Dennis Johnson. I'm the instructor, in case you haven't figured that part of it out. My office is in Horace Sisk, room 602E. Horace Sisk is across the street, attached to the gym. In room 602E, that's up in the front corner. My phone number, 910-678-0092. That goes straight to me. It does not go to a secretary or anybody else. It goes straight to my office. If I'm there and I'm available, I'll answer it. If I'm in a meeting or in a class, or if I'm meeting with a student, at that time I may not answer the phone, but I'll leave a voicemail and I'll respond as soon as I can. Oh, that wore me out, talking too much. Give me a second. Okay, I'm good. My email, johnsden@fatechcc.edu. All of this is in Blackboard. Come on in.
Hey, Mr. J.
What up? Come have a
I'm in
seat.
the wrong class.
You were in the wrong class.
Yeah.
It's just, you're only in one.
I know. I ain't been back for a year.
No. All right. So I'm just going over the syllabus.
Okay.
This class has no prereqs, no co-reqs. It is a prereq for directing. So if you ever want, anybody interested in taking directing? If you ever want to take directing, you have to have this class. You also have to have acting 1 before you can take directing, or be enrolled in one of the two at the same time. Learning outcomes will basically be how to do technical theater. That's the easiest way to say it. It's broken up in some fine wording, but you're basically going to learn technical theater. If there's a problem, if you have a problem with me or with the content of the class or with the class itself, you come talk to me first. That's your first line of defense. Come talk to your instructor. This is any class you're in. Talk to your instructor first. Even if you're having a problem, an issue, a personal issue or whatever with the instructor, go to them and talk to them to see if you can iron out whatever the issue is. If that doesn't work, then you go to the department chair or the coordinator for that area. It'll be on the syllabus. For us, for this class, I'm the department chair. So you come to me again. So if you don't work it out with me, come to me and work it out again. Does it make sense? Then you go to the dean of the area. And for us, it's Dr. Antonio Jackson. He's in Horace Sisk, room 610. His number is 678-0058. And again, that's on the syllabus, so don't worry about it. You can find it there. Okay? Most of the time, you're not going to have an issue with me. If you have an issue with me, just come talk to me. Okay? What we do each week in here, there's technically a schedule on Blackboard on the, actually, I'm not sure if you see the syllabus yet or not. I'll have to double check that. It'll be up there by the end of the day, either way. But the syllabus is subject to change because some of what we can do in here is going to be based on what's going on with the whole pandemic. So if things loosen up and the governor says, hey, we can move into phase 3, that's going to allow us more freedom to do things like in phase 3, theaters can open up to perform productions for a limited audience. So that would change things because that means that we would be able to put on a little bit of a show. Probably. It depends on when that would happen. So if that happens during the semester, that's going to change some things of what we're doing. If we move into phase 3, that means a little less, that means next semester, it'd be more face-to-face, less of this online stuff.
So admittedly, we're not really gonna get the full experience because of COVID in this class.
Yeah, you will.
Okay.
There's nothing, all right, look, in any class that you take for theater or for, it really doesn't matter what it is, but for stagecraft, just like those who took play production, stage production last semester in the summer, there is nothing that says we put on a play, ever, anywhere. In fact, if you look at the course description, it says by the time you finish this class, you should be able to participate in a college theatrical production. Not before, or not during. So there is really nothing that says we are working on a play. That's just typically what we do. Now, that being said, flats, we could build certain flats and such. The problem is because of this, I can't really give you a hammer or a screw gun or a saw, and if you get cut, you go to the hospital, because right now that's a no-no. Does that make sense? Because if somebody's bleeding, they go to the hospital, they have to deal with it. If the hospitals are being overrun with COVID cases, they don't want you coming in there for something that could have been prevented. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's just a liability issue at the moment, more so than normal. That doesn't mean we won't talk about flats and how they're put together, and I will show you how to use the power tools safely. It just means we won't be in here actually, because we can't actually build in here. We have to do it outside, and that's another gray area. Everything's going right now, everything that deals with the pandemic is changing how everything's done everywhere. So it's just one of those things we have to be kind of cautious on what we're doing. At the moment, again, if we move into phase 3, that changes things. So that's why we're hoping to move into phase 3, because then we can open up and do a little bit more. But you will still learn what a flat is, what a platform is, how they're put together, how to do the power tools, the safety, what tools are and how they work, the proper use of the tools. You will learn lighting cues, how to adjust and focus lights, and the sound system, how to set up a sound system, how microphones and all that stuff works. Even more details than what we did in the summer class. And we do have some brand new lights. We now have some LED lights, which is state of the art. That's some cool stuff. So for all these lights up here, half of these are older lighting. I don't know if you can see where the new ones, there's a couple over here, I think. A couple over there. But most of these, the bigger lights are the older lights. Those things take up a lot of power. Each one of those is 750 to 1,000 watts. That takes a lot of power. The LED lights are like 100 watts that put out 1,000 watts of power. See what I'm saying? So it's powerful light, but it takes a lot less energy. So we technically have, I think, 20 new lights. We have some smaller ones, and then we have some larger ones.
That one doesn't have one at all.
Well, that's a projector.
No. Besides the projector.
There's no light beside the projector. Where are you
Is
looking
that
at?
a light or is that a speaker? What is that?
Where are you at?
Like literally right there.
Do you see what he's saying?
Yeah.
I see a big black box that's a projector. Beyond that, I don't see anything there. You talking about this up here?
Literally right here.
Oh, that's a house light. That's a regular stupid light.
Okay.
That's not like one of our real lights. That's a house light. That one just needs to replace the bulb.
I'm gonna be honest, you kinda had me feeling stupid for a second. If that's
Well,
not
you had me
one-
going, I was like, what's hanging there? I don't see anything hanging. Because I'm thinking stage lights. I wasn't thinking of the house lights. But we will talk about lighting in detail and how to do lights, and you'll learn to focus, and we'll focus on the stage. So we still have the stage to work with. It's just certain things we're not going to be able to do like we would. But we'll still do everything you need to do, and then some. We will also talk about scenic design, and then we will work towards either doing a prop design where you can build your own prop and bring it in, or we'll talk about scenic design and maybe get the design a set for something that maybe at some time we might use. Just depends.
What are the guidelines for building your own prop?
We'll find out when we get to that keep it affordable. The one thing you're going to find out about theater is we are cheap. We're not cheap. It costs a lot to do theater, but we're cheap in how we do things because we're trying to get the biggest bang for our buck, right? So one of the things you'll find out about theater is we reuse whatever we can reuse. That's why you don't build new flats every time you build a set. You take the old flats and repaint them or recover them or whatever. Redesign the set by moving it around. We even reuse screws sometimes, those kind of things, because that costs money. And the less you have to spend on new screws, I mean, if you have to buy a $20 box of screws every time, that adds up after a while. That's $100 a year if you do 5 productions. So that's $100 that could have been used to buy something else, right? So there's a lot of things we do to try to save money. We use Craigslist. Anybody use Craigslist before? You ever got anything on Craigslist?
I'd rather not talk about it.
I've gotten all kinds of things on Craigslist for free. We've put things up. We put a couch up on Craigslist here at the college on a Saturday. Posted it, stuck it out over here by the gate. It was gone within 20 minutes. And it was a piece of junk. I mean, that's why we got rid of it. If we don't want it, who would want it? But somebody picked it up. It's like, okay. So, I haven't done Craigslist lately, but I used to do it all the time.
You'd be better off on Facebook Marketplace, if I'm being honest.
Facebook Marketplace wasn't in existence when we were using it all the time.
That's fair.
But it is much better. But there's not as much free stuff on there as there was on Craigslist.
That's true.
So,
But Craigslist is kind of becoming a little bit obscure because there's a lot of censorship on it now and a lot of things you can't.
well, it's because it's become more about people scamming people than it is about actually getting anything. So, and they're not the only 2 sources out there. There's other things you can use. But anyway, we do that sometimes. We haven't done much. The other problem we have here, and this is the same problem that most theaters have, is storage. You don't have a whole lot of places to store things because storage costs money too. I mean, where are we going to store things? Take off, hey, you guys have to stop having class in this room. We need it for storage. That's not going to happen. So we have a little bit of storage and it is full. That's why you see things different places. We have a couch there. We used to have one. Must be over there. We used to have 2 couches in here.
I know there's a lot of scrap wood over there.
Shh, shh. We don't talk about scrap wood. It's not there anymore. Yeah, there probably is. Actually, it may not be. I may have moved it. I don't remember. Anyway, this is our theater. This is Cumberland Hall Auditorium. This is the theater. This is where all the plays happen when we do plays. So this is our stage. It's not a very big stage, but it works. Guess what? When I first got here 14 years ago, back in the dark ages, there was nothing here. We put this together. We were using risers. They had these foldable risers. That's what we were using before. And the stage was actually a little smaller than what it is now. So we put this up. But when we were using the risers, we did Fiddler on the Roof here with over 50 people in the cast. So this will hold a lot more than what it looks like. Because at one point, almost everybody was on stage. So it does work somewhat well for what it is. Is there things that I would like to do to make it better? Yes. Can we do it? No, because it costs too much, or it's not worth it for this space. For instance, technically speaking, if you look at the lighting up here, that looks okay, right? I mean, it looks like stage lighting, right? Because it is. The problem with it is that lighting should be about 10 foot taller off the floor. Because on stage, you want the lighting to be up about a 45-degree angle, not at about a 30-degree angle. because it's going to drop the shadows more on the stage instead of on the back wall. Does that make sense? So in reality, when you're doing lighting, and we'll talk about more of this later when we talk about lighting. In lighting for stage, you do typically a 3-point lighting. So you do a light from this angle and one from this angle, and then either a down light or a backlight for each area. So you divide up the stage in areas, and that's what you do. This angle is at a 45 and a 45. This one's at a 45 and 45 as best as possible. Obviously, depending on where you're at on stage, that may not be physically possible based on where your lighting is. And then that's typically what you do. Ours is more like a 30 by 30 or something. But the other problem we have here is we have what, 20, give or take 20 lights up there, 24 lights. If I turn all 20 of those on at the same time, before we got the LED, if I turned all of those on and left them on, in about 20 minutes into it, this whole half would turn off because it would pop a breaker in the back. Too much power, drawing too much power. With the LEDs, we should never run into that problem because they don't draw as much power. So when I take all these down and put all 20 of those LEDs up there, we should have a whole lot of light that should never have become close to taking as much power as we have been. And ideally, we're not going to put all 20 up there. Ideally, I'm going to get some light bars up here, so we'll have some downlight finally. So that's the cool thing. And the other cool thing about the LED lighting is, if you look at these lights, if you look here where this beam is, this black beam going across here, you see that little box? For you two, if you look straight up, you'll see it. Against that black beam, there's a little metal box that's probably gray. You see it? That has little power plugs in it. Those are called dimmer packs. The dimmer packs are so what happens is there's a computerized light board in the booth that has a power cable running out of it, going up to this first dimmer pack, plugs into that dimmer pack. Then another cable plugs from that dimmer pack to this dimmer pack, and it daisy chains all the way across. So the lights are plugged into the dimmer packs, but then there's a power cable, not power cable, but a cable running into each dimmer pack, so that the board says, if I turn this one, if I move this gauge up, it turns this light on. So that's basically how it works. So the idea is that each dimmer pack controls through the board which light comes on. The LED lights that we have now can be plugged straight into the board through those lights. In other words, it's its own dimmer pack. And it has to be assigned a channel, just like those do, so that I can leave those dimmer packs up, and I can daisy chain each one of these individual LED lights into that same chain of dimmer packs, and just make sure they're all assigned a number. And then, in theory, we could have 20 plus 20 more lights. We could have 40 lights up, if there's still enough power to do that.
So in the process of all the technical stuff that we're going to be learning, will we be also dealing with like audio, like equalizers and synthesizers and all that fun stuff? Or is that just something that I'd have to look into another class for?
No, we will be talking about the sound system and how it works.
Okay.
And we'll talk about those to some degree.
Okay. Would I be able to apply that knowledge at some point to maybe a digital platform of the same variation?
We have a digital soundboard.
No, I mean like on your computer screen. Or you actually are saying that it's on a computer screen.
When I show you the sound system, you'll see that I can control every aspect of that soundboard through my iPad.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah.
Fantastic.
In fact, if I move the little gauge, I shouldn't have told you this, but if I move the little lever up on my iPad, it physically moves it up on the board, which will freak people out the first time because they're like, how did that move? It's fun when you're doing a show and they don't know about it. Whoever's running the board doesn't know it, and I'm over here doing this, changing the controls. You got to have fun wherever you can, right? But anyway, yes, so we do some of that. Now, again, most of the classes we have aren't geared towards that kind of stuff,
Right.
but we will talk about some of that during this class. And then acting for the camera, you'll hear some things about sound because plugging in microphones and stuff to the cameras and things.
The biggest reason why I asked that is, I mean, I deal with single board computers a lot, and right now I'm experimenting with Debian and Raspberry Pi, and there's some audio programs that I can use, like LMMS and Zen and all that stuff,
Mhm.
which are great for like audio compilations and synthesizing and just overall music or audio editing. And I'm trying to learn more about those in the process of also trying to learn some of the technical stuff here.
So you need to take the keyboarding class
Possibly, yeah.
because they're using Syllabus and Reason
Okay.
for doing what you're talking about, editing sound and creating sound files. And it's actually today, I think, starts today.
Probably a little bit late on that one, and
No, you can still get in there.
I'm gonna write that down.
It's Piano Lab, I think is what it's called. It's in the music program. It's piano class or piano lab or something like that. I think it's like music 162 or 161. But it meets this afternoon in the computer lab over in Horace Sis, room 613.
Room what?
613.
Cool. Thank you.
But you'll have to sign up for it before you go there. I don't know how many people's in it. And I think there's enough room for it to add. Let's take a quick break.